All right, guys, continuing on from yesterday. Yesterday we learned about Jacques Cartier and how he had gone west, sent by the King of France to look for some gold and spices and a northwest passage to Asia, which he didn't find, but he found some other pretty cool stuff. But make sure that you did finish number 3. I know some of you didn't finish question 3 yesterday, where it says, at the time, Cartier's expedition was considered a failure. Do you agree or disagree? Give evidence to support your answer using the race strategy. Restate the question, answer the question, cite evidence, and then explain. Start with I believe or I think. All right, and so I had put up on the screen here just how to get you started. I think Cartier's expedition was or wasn't a failure. You're going to decide which one you think. Give me a couple of facts from the text that proves what you think, that proves that it was a failure or proves that it wasn't a failure. You could actually go either way with that, depending on how you look at it. And then you're going to wrap it up explaining at the end, this proves his expedition was or wasn't a failure. So make sure that one's finished up, and then we'll go on and finish out the book today. All right, so back to the book. We are not going to read this page settlement at Jamestown because we will get to that more later. So we're going to learn about a fellow named Henry Hudson next. All right, so page 103. Henry Hudson was born in England around the time of Jacques Cartier's death. Like Cabot and Cartier, Hudson was convinced that a northwest passage to Asia existed, and he wanted to try a new way of getting there. He planned to sail due north, straight across the North Pole, to reach the other side of the world. Hudson thought that if he sailed during the warmer summer months, he just might make it. Hudson convinced the British Muscovy Company to sponsor his voyage. In 1607, he boarded a small ship named the Hopewell with a crew of 12 men. His son, John Hudson, also joined him. In the beginning, the weather was good, but as they neared Greenland, freezing winds and thick fog slowed the ship's progress. Although they came closer to the North Pole than any other explorer, they were still unable to find a way through. With supplies running low, Hudson decided to return to England. In April 1608, Hudson sailed again on the Hopewell. This time he would try to sail east around the North Pole. As they rounded the northern tip of Norway, Hudson and his crew made an amazing discovery. All right, so let's look at this did you know, because this is kind of a fascinating one. Henry Hudson's crew claimed they saw a strange and beautiful creature in the cold Arctic waters. It had the tail of a porpoise and the body of a woman, a mermaid. Okay, don't think that's what they saw, but who knows? Maybe. All right, so the amazing discovery they made, though, wasn't the mermaid. All right, it's something else. And by the way, did you know in the Arctic summer the sun shone for 24 hours a day? So once you get up above the Arctic Circle, that happens. All right, even with all the sun, however, the wind and waters were still freezing. More and more ice surrounded the ship the farther north they sailed. Eventually, the crew grew tired of the cold. Hudson wanted to continue searching, but he agreed to head home for England. As news of his voyages traveled across Europe, the Dutch East India Company in Amsterdam agreed to sponsor Hudson's third voyage. They told him to search for a passage to the east of the North Pole. If he could not find it, he was to sail home. In April 1609, Hudson sailed from Amsterdam on the Half Moon and headed north. Once again, ice blocked his way. As the weather grew cold and stormy, the crew began to talk of mutiny. Hudson decided to disobey his orders to return home if he couldn't find a passage. Instead, he sailed west towards the New World. He eventually landed near present-day Maine, heading south along the coastline. He found the mouth of a great river, the present-day Hudson River. Excited, he thought he may have found the route to the east. Okay, it says Hudson sailed up the river exploring the surrounding land. Page 105. He sailed about 150 miles to present-day Albany, New York. Here the river became narrow and shallow. Hudson realized that this river was not the passage to the east, but he claimed the Hudson River Valley for Holland. The Dutch would settle this land and call it New Amsterdam. Eventually it would become present-day New York. Disappointed, Hudson returned home. But in April 1610, he set sail again on his fourth voyage. Hudson sailed through an icy passage in northern Canada that is called the Hudson Strait today. The strait opened into a great body of water that Hudson believed was the sea route to the Pacific Ocean. In fact, the large body of water was a bay that would become known as Hudson Bay. As Hudson explored the bay, it became very icy. By November, the ship was frozen in for the winter. Over the long, cold months, food was in short supply, and the men grew cold, hungry, and sick. When the ice finally melted in the spring, they wanted to return to England. When Hudson refused, the crew mutinied. They forced Hudson, his son, and several other sick men into a rowboat. I guess that's what that picture is. The sailors set Hudson adrift in the icy waters of Hudson Bay without food or water. And then here at the bottom it says Hudson and the men in the rowboat were never seen again. It is assumed that they either froze or starved to death. Well, that's a terrible way to end. All right. Although Hudson never found the Northwest Passage, his expeditions increased European knowledge of the world. Today, many places are named after him, from the Hudson Strait and the Hudson Bay in Canada to the Hudson River and the Henry Hudson Parkway in New York. So again, just like the Cartier, he didn't find what he set out to find, but he did gain a lot of knowledge of the New World, and we're reading about him in history, so he gained some fame for himself, didn't he? All right, I want to pull up a map of his voyages here. Now, this map's going to look kind of weird because here's the North Pole. So it's kind of like we're taking the globe and we're looking down more from the top angle. All right, so the shapes of the land don't look like what we're used to seeing on a map. Here's Greenland, here's Canada. You can see it's turned kind of sideways. Over here's the top part of Europe, that's Norway over here. All right, so 1607, Hudson's first voyage is this purple. All right, so you can see he didn't get real far that first voyage. 1608 is the green. Okay, he went a little different way. Didn't make too far on that one. 1609, that was a big one. Okay, he went really far this time, 1609, and this is where he came over and ended up going up the Hudson River, which it wasn't called that then, but it is now. And this is the river that runs right along New York City. See this island right here, Manhattan Island? That's where the big city of New York City is. Hudson River right up along there. All right, so that's good to know. So that river was named after him. It's still called that. All right, so and then he goes back. And then the red is the final voyage. And he went up through here, through this strait. A strait is like where you've got water over here and water over here, and it's connected by a narrow passageway called Hudson Strait and Hudson Bay. He found this big body of water, and it's called Hudson Bay. Never found a Northwest Passage because there really wasn't one. Now, you'll notice his path does not go back. That's because, remember, his crew mutinied, and they set him off the boat and sent him on his way, and he was never heard from again. So that's where his path ends. All right, so he probably died. So if you look at question 4, it says, name the 3 bodies of water named after Henry Hudson. Well, they're right here on this map. Hudson River, that's a river. the Hudson Strait right here, and the Hudson Bay right here. So you can see those right from this map. All right, we got one more fella to read about. We'll be finished with this book. All right, this guy was named Samuel de Champlain, another Frenchman. In the early 1600s, a French explorer named Samuel de Champlain continued Jacques Cartier's exploration of North America. His mission was to find a good site to start a French settlement. The French were interested in the valuable fur trade. All right, and so that gives us the answer to number 5. In the early 1600s, Samuel de Champlain was sent to start a French settlement in North America. Why? Here's the answer, this last sentence I just read. The French were interested in the valuable fur trade. So they weren't looking for a path to Asia. They had decided, hey, you know, there's a lot of fur here in this wild wilderness land, and fur is worth money. You can make all kinds of stuff out of it. And so they decided, you know, that's still a way to get rich, is by getting a lot of fur and selling them back in Europe. And so the French decided to try that route, and they were very successful at the fur trade. The French are very known for that. All right, so reading on how that all went down. When he arrived, Champlain mapped the land and established fur trading posts. In 1604, he began exploring areas south of the St. Lawrence River, including present-day Nova Scotia. He also explored and mapped much of New England as far south as Massachusetts Bay. In 1608, Champlain and about 30 colonists founded a French settlement that would become the city of Quebec, right here, Quebec. All right, and that's the answer for number 6. In 1608, the city of Quebec was founded for the French in what is now present-day Canada. And I know your questions are done, but listen up. Only 9 colonists survived the first winter. A new group of settlers arrived in the spring, and the colony began to flourish. Champlain formed alliances with local native groups that would help protect future fur trading settlements. Okay, 107. The French territory in the New World became known as New France. In 1612, the king made Champlain governor of New France. Under Champlain's guidance, the French were able to settle in the area permanently. Although Champlain died from illness in 1635, his influence still exists in North America. Yeah, guess what? They still speak French in Quebec. Even though Canada is English-speaking, in Quebec, they still speak French because it was started by the French, and there's still a lot of French descendants there. Okay, so beginning with the Portuguese in the 1400s and lasting into early 1700s, the Age of Discovery was an exciting time for Europe. So that's what this whole book has been about. So now here they're just wrapping up this whole book about the European explorers. This is like the ending here. With each journey and discovery, Europeans learned a little bit more about the world. They established direct contact with other cultures in Africa, Asia, and the Americas. People who had never met before shared plants, animals, food, and cultures across continents. The brave explorers of the New World risked their lives and fortunes with each voyage into the unknown. Their journeys to the New World left a lasting legacy. It can still be seen in the languages, religions, and cultures of the people who live in North and South America today. Yeah, the languages especially. South America, where the Spain settled, they speak Spanish. The English that settled kind of where we live at, we speak English. The French up in Canada, a lot of French speakers up there. So you can see why things are the way they are. Let's read Did You Know? The Dutch and the English fought 3 wars over the land Hudson discovered. That land right there where New York City is along the Hudson River. In 1664, the English gained control of New Amsterdam, and they changed its name to New York. And so that's how it got the name New York, when the English took it over from the Dutch, and they changed the name. I wanted to show you real quick. I wanted to find a map of Quebec, and I don't have the right map pulled up. Quebec is in Canada, though. It is a city in Canada. And like I said, they do still mostly speak French there. I mean, there's a lot of people that do speak English, but where'd the map go? I had it just a minute ago. Back! It'll be okay. Alright, well, just look at this little one here. Here's the United States. Here's where we live, right here, where my little arrow's pointing. Oh, shoot. That's what happens when you click when you shouldn't. Quebec is right there. Remember that St. Lawrence River we learned about? Okay, there it is. So there's Quebec. Alright, so that's it. Turn your paper in, and we're done with the book. Yay!